In this video, I will explain you step by step how you get from this to this to this, and even more three-dimensional, so check out this video. Hello friends and followers, and welcome back to a new project. My name is Smoe, I'm a German graffiti artist, and this is the 3D tutorial that you were awaiting for about 2 years. But the first thing that we want to do is we paint a pretty simple graffiti style to this wall, because this is not about the style. We don't want to make it too complicated. We want to focus on the effects, we want to focus on the 3D, so let's start.
As the outlines of the piece that I'm painting recently will be red at the end as well, it absolutely makes sense to paint the first lines in the same color. And as usual, when I make some mistakes and want to erase some of the first lines, I use a similar color to the background. In this case it's Manila Dark, and I erase lines that I don't like.
Good. As the next step, we will fill the complete fill in white first, because when you paint with light spray paint on a dark background, it will not be so shiny, and it will make the whole graffiti more pop out of the wall.
And also you will not waste that much spray paint, because especially light spray paint is covering so much better on a light background than on a dark background. And bucket paint is cheap.
And as the next step, I will fill the letters with the fill-in. And I want to go with the fading from curry over pudding, latte to Paris. So this will be the fading that I want to put into the fill-in.
As the first step, I mark out the height of the curry color just to see where I have to fill it. And there is no coincidence that all colors that I put in the fill-in are pretty light. I always take care that there is a big contrast between the outline and the fill-in. So the fill-in in this case is light and the outline has to be darker in this case.
Okay, good enough. Good enough. Time. Now it's time for the outline. And after that, we finished the first step. Painting a nice graffiti without any 3D, because this is how we start.
For the outlines I used the green level 1 skinny cap from Montana cans. It has a pretty high output, but you can make really wonderful outlines with it. For outlines that are just 2 or 3 millimeters thick, I use the tiny pink stencil cap adapter on my spray can.
Perfect. Okay. This is step 1. Step 1, we made a completely flat graffiti without any 3D. It's not 3D at all. This is how we start. And now let's make it step by step more three-dimensional by adding different techniques. So the easiest technique to make it a little bit three-dimensional is just to add a drop shadow to this two-dimensional graffiti piece. So let's do this. So the light is coming from there, and this will be our light source for the whole painting session today. When the light is coming from there, all the shadows will fall into the opposite direction. So the easy rule of the drop shadow is that every outline that is not facing into the direction of the light source, which is on the opposite side, has just a little bit of shadow. So all outlines that are facing to the left side and facing downwards somehow got a little bit of this black shadow here and there. And this creates this illusion like this 2D graffiti would hover a little bit in front of the wall.
Just to show you that there is some sort of three-dimensionality possible even without having a block, here you can see how it looks like when you make the shadow even bigger.
As the next step, we need to decide into which direction should the three-dimensionality of the letters go. We call it the block. So in which direction should the block face? And I decide that the block should face upwards. This is our vanishing point. And always the thickness of the block will always face into the direction of this tiny piece of tape. So I always start at the edges and create a line that is as long as the spray can. Like this. This. Okay. And now the back side of the block is always parallel to the outline. This one is this edge, and it will be parallel to this outline. Parallel to this outline. Parallel to this outline. Like this. I use the old can first because this one is nearly empty. You can't use a nearly empty can for outlines, but you can still use it to fill spaces. One golden rule is that all blocks are getting darker to the end. So this is the outline, the block starts here and it will be darker over here. This is the outline, the block goes into this direction, it will be darker over here. This is everywhere except the blocks on the top. The blocks on the top, they behave in a different way, but we do this now as the first thing. So sometimes I say holes are dark at the end, so when you have such a hole over here, it will be the darkest over there. So when the block starts here, it goes into this direction, it is here the darkest, here the darkest, here the darkest, here the darkest. And this is what we do now. All the holes and all the blocks that are not on top, because the top blocks behave in a different way.
By adding a little bit of shading in the block, suddenly the outline starts to become visible again. And this is one of the advantages of using a darker shade in the blocks, because now you can make stuff visible that would blur together otherwise. At every point where I start to add some shading, I always check Okay, where is the vanishing point and where is the darkest spot? Oh, this is Mona Lisa. And it also helps a lot to check it in a smaller scale.
So, and these blocks that are on top, I just make them darker when they when they make a gap or when it is not facing the light source anymore. Like over here, I make the gap more visible and just make a little bit of a fading. And the block on top does not get dark at the end. It doesn't do this anymore. And just to make it a little bit more visible over here, I make a tiny fading here as well. Just to make sure that the outline and the block, the outline of O and the block of E are not melting that much together. This, for example, is a shadow that is not really right. I just put it over there to make it look better, even if it is not 100% right. But as there is still not enough contrast, we will add an even darker shade of red to it, and this is this dark one, purple red. So all the holes will get even darker now, and all the shades in tiny gaps will be darker as well. So we increase the contrast of the shadow now.
Even if this step makes it so much more three-dimensional, you don't have to make any new decisions, because you make the blocks just darker where they are already dark. Nothing easier than that. By the way, I use for small shadings like that the McClaim Super Skinny Cap. It does not have that much output as the level 1 Skinny Cap and can make even thinner lines, while being a little bit dusty. This is perfect for tiny shadings.
Okay, now it slowly starts to become three-dimensional, and the only rule is holes are dark at the end, all blocks are getting darker to the end as long as they are not on top of the piece. That's it. This is the only thing that you need to know. Just use a darker shade of your middle tone block. This is why I used what is it called? Blood orange or something? Blood orange. This is why I used blood orange for the outlines, because if the outline is in a middle tone, it is easier to add shadow to it. When it's very dark, like when I use black, I can't add any shadow to it. So as the next step, because now the piece is already a little bit 3D, it will become so much more 3D. But as the background over here, like this black line is still visible, I will add a cast shadow to it. That means that all these three-dimensional letters cast a shadow on the wall, always in the opposite direction of the light source. And this is what we want to do now. Just in black. Just in black. Super easy. And the cast shadow is a little bit weird, because a drop shadow is easy. You can always apply it to every outline, but the cast shadow starts where the piece is touching the wall. So if you imagine this corner over here will have a block that goes to there, like the length of a spray can. So the cast shadow of this edge starts here. And of course it is parallel to this line. And the cast shadow of this element is here. The cast shadow of this element, like this round thing, it is going down there. It starts here. Again, it is parallel. And because this is extremely confusing, you don't have to make it 100% right, it just has to look right. And I will remove all these black lines that are wrong now. I will remove them with the light gray color that I used to erase the first line colors. And this is what I want to do now. Like this.
To erase mistakes, it's always good to have a spray can in a similar color or to have a brush with you so that you can use the brush to paint over some parts with the background color again.
Now we got some shadow within the blocks, a cast shadow underneath, and I don't know if the shape of the cast shadow is right. And if I don't know it, nobody else will know it, because it is too complicated for our brains to find the right shape of the cast shadow. So if it looks pretty much like this, everything's fine.
And to prove that it really doesn't matter how the drop shadow looks like, here are just some examples of crooked drop shadows that work perfectly as well.
So we're still working on the shadow. We're just doing shadow, shadow, shadow right now. Light will come later. Because there's still a lot of shadow within the piece missing, like this O. It should look like if it was a little bit higher and makes a shadow over here. Or this part of M makes a shadow over there. And over here, this S should make a shadow on the M. And to be able to do this, I always need a darker shade. I need a darker shade
of Paris, I need a darker shade of all the other colors. So this is why you need to take care to have all the colors with you when you go to the wall. So I always think about every color that is in the fill-in, that I got a darker shade of it as well.
And we also have to apply a little bit of more block, because to make it more three-dimensional, and when this part is on top of the M, of course the block should be a little bit thicker. And here's still a little bit of the white pointing out. Remove this first. Now we are done with the basic shadows, but when there is shadow, there also is light. So everything that is at the opposite side of the light source is pretty much done. We will add a little bit of the 45 degrees angle shadow. We will do this later. But now we start to add light to it. That means that every part of the blocks and of the outlines that is facing into the direction of the light source gets lighter now. So let's use the lighter shades, because this is the middle tone that we used for the outlines, and now we can apply raspberry, strawberry and Bazooka Joe to it. Probably we will skip the raspberry. We will just add strawberry and Bazooka Joe to it to give the outlines and the blocks a little bit of a shine. Let's start with strawberry.
So all outlines that are facing upwards and facing to the right side will get a little bit of strawberry on it as a reflection, because these outlines are facing into the direction of the light source. Pretty easy.
Add a lighter reflection on the blocks that are facing into the direction of the light source. I will not fill them completely. I will just I will start at the edges. The edges right here. I'm going to start here and make a fading.
If you paint reflections on curved blocks, the reflection will always face into the direction of the light source. So if the curve gets some shine of the light source on the right side, of course it is lighter on the right side as well. So everything interacts with the light source.
Yeah, I'm pretty satisfied how it looks right now. You can see that I already did some weird things, like over here. You can see that the cast shadow of this part of M is going to this point, so that means that the shadow continues on this part of M also. And we will work with these cast shadows within the block soon, but before we do this, we will add Bazooka Joe, an even lighter red, to make all the beautiful edges visible. What I do now is pretty much the same like I did with this darker red. I just make the lighter parts lighter, like I did the darker parts darker. So always when I started at a corner, I will make the corner now even lighter with the bazooka Joe and let it fade out. Now the difficult part starts, because now I will add all the cast shadows within the piece. So over here we got the cast shadow of this part of this chip that is flying above the S, and of course it will go here, maybe like this. Go a little bit backwards, then this part will make a shadow as well, like this. And we fill it. And as we got a cast shadow of this part here, it has to go down here. You see, this part is making a shadow here, and the shadow continues on the block. This looks good. So this part will make a shadow probably like this. This part will make a shadow here. This will create a shadow this. This part is making a shadow here. This makes a shadow like here. And this part is making a shadow here as well. Maybe like this. And this part is making a shadow here as well. Probably like this. Maybe. And to make it a little bit more dramatic, just a tiny little bit, I will add. Will I add black? Yes, I will add black. I will add a little bit of black to it to make some parts even more visible, like here. the background now is just a dark background, I want to add just a super easy stencil to it, because this will give your brain more information about what is happening over there with the shadow. Because I want to add a whole pattern in the background with these dots, and all dots become darker when they are in the shadow. So let's do this now. And it's annoying, it's really annoying. I can't say that I enjoy doing pattern backgrounds, but the effect is so nice. So let's add some blue dots to the wall, and the blue dots will become dark blue dots in the shadow.
I attached the pattern stencil to a wooden frame so that I can hold it with one hand and spray through it with the other. So you don't need a second person to help you, or you don't need any tape to stick it to the wall or anything. This makes everything so much faster.
We're done! Finally! I love pattern backgrounds. They're so beautiful when they're done. But the work is terrible. Yeah, but I think this was definitely worth it, because now you can see, I'll put the letter away. Now you can see how much extra power the shadow, the cast shadow of the piece got, because your brain is now so satisfied, because when you got a pattern and it gets darker, okay, there has to be a shadow. And this is how illusions work. You just need to satisfy the brain of the person who is watching it. Yeah. But we still got a lot of other effects that we can apply to it, because we still don't got any background stuff, and of course we want to have some Blinky stars and the broken halo and some stickers and some more effects. So let's continue. I want to add the Smoe smoke. I could paint some bubbles in the background, but I really love to make the Smoe smoke. It's this wobbly lines in the background. And I will do them with these two colors, with Manila Light and Manila Green. So this will be in the light and this will be in the shadow. Pretty easy. Yeah, okay. And now, as the background, the Smoe smoke is another 2D element in the background, we can use the very first 3D effect that we did in this video. I will add just a little bit of shadow, always at the opposite side of the light source as a shadow to the background now. So then it will even look like if the background would be floating a little bit over the pattern. You know. I would say as the fill-in still is a very, very flat surface, and we could give it this curved shape. And if we would say, okay, the fill-in is not a matte flat surface, it's a curved glossy surface, we can even add light reflections within the fill-in that create some sort of a curviness and also give you more information about light, shadow and so on, not just being a flat surface. So I will add a little bit of a chrome effect to it right now. Using white, just a little bit of white, and the darkest color over here, the Paris. Now I added all these, these shapes that I added over here are like the horizon, and the horizon always reflects in the fill-in. And as I used white over here as a highlight, always on the side where the fill-in is facing into the direction of the light source. But as I did this, now I have to add white to the blocks as well, and I will start to add some highlights, some real reflections in there, like these blending effects. I don't know the name. Like shiny shine. I will add some shiny shine now. However it is called, you will see what I will be doing right now. So as one of the last steps before I start doing the real fine details, I will add now some of my Blinky stars that are flying all around in the broken halo that is always on top of my pieces. And they will create some reflections within the outlines on the shadow side. And this gives it even some more extra shiny glossiness. And I prepared these colors over here. I will start with pine and go over malachite dark, malachite light, and in the middle there will be white. So these are the colors for, I think these are too much colors. I think I will go just with these colors. I will start with malachite dark, malachite light, and white. So let's do some Blinky stars. And as the last step, I will add some stickers on the piece as some greetings to my crews and family and people who helped me making this video. This guy. Yeah, I will add some stickers on it and then I will show you the final results.
And of course, I want to say a big thanks to my supporters on Patreon who help me each month to be able to make videos like that and who have seen this video some weeks earlier than you have seen it on YouTube. So a big thanks to the Helpy Gang.
Yeah, I think it is not possible to add more effects to it. Or maybe I could add more effects to it, but it would not make anything better because this is so glossy and so crazy. And I know that you want to see it. This is the final result. friends and followers, I hope that you were a little bit entertained and you learned a little bit about 3D blocks and all this stuff. A big thanks to Montana Cans for supporting me with a lot of dope free spray cans to do stuff like that. Please don't forget to like the subscribe button, and I hope to see you in the next project next Saturday.